We are truly in a unique time for humanity that we have never lived through before, because we are really transmuting and transforming these very high frequency energies to become new Earth. This is the big year of accelerated evolution. There's bound to be emotion, there's bound to be a feeling of grief. It feels very empty and it feels very shaky. This is all by universal design, divine timing. I would be surprised as an astrologer if this wasn't happening. The love revolution, the cosmic revolution, is really quiet. And every tiny act of kindness you make on a day-to-day basis is adding to that side of the scales, which is creating this absolute tsunami, this momentum of love to create this new Earth. Your focus is your superpower. You can't feel chaos and coherence at the same time. You have to focus on one of the other. So where's your focus? I do think absolutely there's a dimensional split. The way you choose your timeline is via your frequency.
Everyone's really so fascinated about how we're splitting. Could you explain that at all? Welcome, everybody, to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. Today, it is such an honor. We have our friend Pam Gregory coming and joining us. And so about 6 months ago, I had reached out to the Heart Coherence Collaborative and I asked everybody who they recommend for us to have on. And we received about 20 emails saying Pam Gregory. And so we reached out and we were blessed for her to come on. And that interview happened to be one of the most viewed videos that we've had, and our community absolutely loves you. And since that time, we've become friends with Pam. She's recommended us to some of her amazing friends who we've had on, and they've become our good friends. So we can't thank you enough, Pam. Our community absolutely loves you. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, bless you, bless you. Well, we're all helping each other, Kyle, aren't we? You know, this is the kind of flow that we're in now, human to human, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, obviously we love having you on, but there's so much going on and we have this big event where we're all diving into the heart. But while this is going on, you and I were talking, there's a lot of movement going on energetically. I was telling you I've had three friends in the last week who've broken up with their partners. In my own life, there's a lot of movement, mostly good, but some really intense. Just seems like a lot of things are changing significantly. So we wanted to invite you on to just give us an energy update about what's going on and how we can anchor ourselves in during these times.
Yeah, fabulous. Thanks so much, Kyle, for that lovely introduction. And yeah, what you say is so true, because I've been saying for a long time, in fact, since the beginning of the year, in talking about what's coming up in 2025. I think I even called the video with my good friend Kathy Rose. We did a joint thing and we called it Endings and Beginnings. And boy, are we seeing those. We're seeing them personally, in marriages, in friendships, in so many relationships. We're seeing them that jobs are ending, people are moving home. People are just, for whatever reason, moving out of your life, and that was fully expected. And out in the world, the old structures are going to continue to collapse. They really are. So don't panic about that and think the world is ending. A world is certainly ending, but not the world. And this is right on time. I would be surprised as an astrologer if this wasn't happening right now. It's meant to happen. And although it's very destabilizing and it leaves a vacuum, and you think, oh my goodness, I've known that person for ages and ages and ages. Now they've moved away, or they got sick, or whatever, and it feels very empty and it feels very shaky at times. And that's why we've got to come back to our own anchor, the anchor of the heart coherence, have your own particular practice of the breath, and really come back to you, to yourself, because in turning inwards, that is the thing that will give you stability and anchoring. And just know that if people are moving out of your life, that leaves a vacuum for other new people to move in, who are most certainly likely to be in greater alignment for your soul's growth in terms of where you're going. And that is, so see it in the bigger perspective, see it in the bigger plan, that new people will come in who will be more like your real soul tribe than you have had in the past. Even though you think, oh, so loved that Mary, Susie, whatever, and they've left my life. Just know that other people, and this is all by universal design, divine timing. So I hope that will help to give it a bigger perspective, because so often we have such a feeling of sadness and even abandonment when these things happen. And once the structures tend to break down even more, which they will in the coming months, that can feel very shaky. No, that has to happen. You have to demolish the old house before you can start to build the new on that same patch of land. So see it in that analogy. But absolutely no doubt, and I've been tired of my own voice in saying this, but we are really going through this period of accelerated evolution this year. This is the big year of turbulence, because the new is overlapping the old. The beginnings are overlapping the endings. And the reason for that is there's so much high frequency energy coming in that it's causing a churn in the energy field, a destabilization of any structures that weren't built of love or integrity. They have to collapse because the energy is simply not there to sustain them in the same way that it was in the past. So this is a physics of energy issue. It's a physics of energy. So just again, think of that big picture and just know that. So super, super accelerated at this time. And I've talked about this period, summer in the Northern Hemisphere, as being our rehearsal. And it truly is. It's our test run. It's our rehearsal where we are beginning to imagine or envisage or dream in, who are we going to be? Who are we already becoming as the new you? What kind of life do we want? Is it in the same geography? Is it in a different country? Is it in a community? Are we really going to be digging into our unique gifts and bring them to the world in a much bigger way than we've ever done it? That's the kind of feeling. And these things may not start to actually take place tangibly until late spring, early summer next year. April, May time is what I'm looking at. And the reason I'm saying that is, at the moment, all of the outer planets have moved into their new signs. Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto have all moved into their new signs. So we have this incredible feeling of the new starting to come in, but we can't quite define it. We can't quite kind of grab it yet, but we have a strong sense of it. And it's remarkable. Just yesterday I filmed the update for the next lunation, which is the full moon in Aquarius on the 9th of August, very powerful time. And if I include two of the dwarf planets, Homer and Sedna, we have, I think, 7 orbiting bodies, all between 0 and 2 degrees of their sign. So that really has a great sense of initiation. I mean, that's a huge number of planets between 0 and 2 degrees of their sign. It's all about new beginnings. And 2 of those planets, Saturn and Neptune, are right at the beginning of Aries. 0 of Aries I call the creator degree, because it's the very first degree of the zodiac, and it is pure potential. It is absolutely pure potential. We have more of a blank canvas for our future than we have ever had before. So what are we going to create? Because previously in our lives, we've known it's fairly predictable. You go to school, you work hard, you get good grades, you go to college or university, you meet someone, you get married, you buy a house, you get kids, you get a job, blah. It was fairly predictable. That's all just not going to happen in future. We are going to have much more latitude in how we organize our lives, much more freedom, I would say, in coming together in community and collaboration to say, how do we want to create a whole new earth here? Do we want to go back to shamanic principles, biodynamic farming, grow our own food, come together, share, collaborate, sing together, chant together, have joy together, have laughter together, all of those things that I think our souls ache for? That's really where we are headed. If you have that kind of a vision coming in for you too, because that is going to be the direction of travel, however unlikely it seems at the moment. However, you never see that stuff on the nightly news, because the nightly news is loud, and it's very easy to get caught up in that drama, that color, those zigzags of craziness. It's very easy because it's like the best movie in town. You don't get a bigger movie than that. But the love revolution, the cosmic revolution, is really quiet. super quiet. It's happening with smiling at strangers in the street. It's helping with, neighbor with their shopping. It's helping with, it's happening quite very quietly with loving a friend, hugging a tree, hugging your pet. This is the quiet revolution. And every tiny act of kindness you make on a day-to-day basis is adding to that side of the scales, which is creating this absolute tsunami, this momentum of love to create this new earth. And you're never going to see that in the nightly news, ever. But we absolutely know, because it's palpable, that we are creating it. So now this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, I have to credit my very good friend Heather Ensworth, who dug back in all her research. Her software program allowed her to go back and back and back and back and back. And she discovered that the last time this had happened at 0 of Aries was 43061, sort of 4,361 BCE. So almost 6,000 years ago is the last time that happened. But it wasn't at the midpoint of this very positive trine between Uranus and Pluto. It wasn't in this unique configuration. So I can't find a time in history, going back thousands of years, where we've had the astrological configuration that we've got at the moment. So we've got Uranus, Pluto in 120 degrees, super positive, midpoint, Saturn and Neptune, where they haven't been since 4,361 BCE. Pretty big stuff. So we are truly in a unique time for humanity that we have never lived through before, because we are really transmuting and transforming these very high frequency energies to become new earth, to become love, to become joy, to become gratitude, to become compassion. And when we embody that and we can hold more light in our bodies, we are new earth. Each of us is going to become like a shining beacon, like a lighthouse, to add to this web of light, which many gifted people can see growing, every week all over the earth. We are new earth. And I really want you to feel that in your bones. And I have only felt that profoundly recently when I was on a retreat in France in June. And all of us there, 18 of us, we all felt that and said, we've got to, I was going so goosebumpy now. We've got to take this embodiment of New Earth back to our local our local places, and just beam it out to the world. Infect people with your light. Infect people with your love. Real call from the heart here. So okay, so the reason I'm calling this rehearsal is because the outer planets have moved into their new signs. And then starting kind of September, October, then November, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus move back into their previous signs. Saturn, Neptune move back to Pisces, Uranus moves back to Taurus, and they stay there through the winter months over the turn of the year. And then gradually they all start finally to fully move into their new signs for the rest of their cycles, whether it's 29 years, 84 years, 165 years, 248 years. So they start to move back really in February, when on the 20th of February 2026, we have Saturn and Neptune exact to the minute, kind of holding hands together, stepping over this creator degree of pure potentiality and launching us into this new phase. Then Uranus on the 26th of April moves into Gemini for the rest of its 84-year orbit cycle. It'll spend about 7 years in Gemini, but it's not going to come back to Taurus within this 84-year cycle, certainly, virtually 84 years. And then we also have a very important aspect between Uranus and Sedna, a conjunction, which I think is going to ignite the biological revolution that we are experiencing in our bodies, whether we know it or not. Now, many people are sensing that they're much more psychically sensitive, they're more telepathic, their healing abilities are stronger, whatever. All of those psychic abilities are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. But what I really want to emphasize is use these few months and Saturn goes back to Pisces 1st of September. Use these few months, these few weeks to really test out who are you becoming? What kind of a world do you want to live in? Because we're not going to get a second rehearsal or a third one. We're in the mush of the caterpillar right now. This is it. We're in it. And then we're launched in the early months of next year, late spring, early summer, April, May, I'd say. So whatever, oh, so good. So whatever you are dreaming in, that I would say from an astrological point of view is the launch phase. And then, of course, there are many, many years where we continue to evolve and upgrade. Of course, this doesn't happen in a trice, but boy, is this accelerated period from 25 to 27. And I've done videos on this because it is so extraordinary astrologically. It's so extraordinary.
Our mission here at the Heart Coherence Collaborative is to get people in touch with the healing power of the heart.
And we really need your help. Right now, only 1% of viewers subscribe. We are aiming to take that number to 6%.
The reason why we want to do that is the more people that subscribe, the more people in the world can learn the magical practice of heart coherence.
So please help us out. If you've ever listened, if you love this message, please just take a moment to subscribe.
Thank you so much. We love you.
We love you.
So the configuration I'm talking about is this year, most exact July, August, where we are right now. So we're getting glimpses of who individually we want to become and who, what we think the world should be, what we're building in our layers of paint on the canvas. It becomes most exact next July, August, 2026. And then gradually, it still holds within orb for 2027, and gradually the faster moving planets like Saturn and Uranus start to move on a little. So it's not as exact. And exactitude gives potency in astrology. The more exact the geometry, the more strongly we feel the mythology of the planets. And just remember that all this very high frequency energy coming in is reactivating, helping us to remember all those strands of DNA that have been dormant for about 200,000 years. The 24th chromosome is coming back online. That's our multi-dimensional ability that was chromosome 2, chromosome 7 were spliced together 200,000 years ago. Greg Braden talks about this. Lee Carroll Cryon talks about this. To make us more human and develop our neocortex, which gave us the ability of language and speech, made us more human in that way, but took away the multidimensional abilities, which are now coming back online that so many of you can feel. So stand strong. The best thing you can do in all of this chaos and craziness is stand strong as an anchor in all of this and just hold the vision. Just keep it simple. Close your eyes, drop into the breath, practice heart coherence, bare feet on the ground, dead simple stuff for free for every single one of us. Keep it that simple. There's nothing more complicated than that. But you can't feel fear and love at the same time. They're two different ends of the stick. So where's your focus going to be? Your focus is your superpower. You can't feel chaos and coherence at the same time. You have to focus on one of the other. So where's your focus? Because as I say, nightly news, super easy to get caught up. And maybe we are encouraged to get caught up. It really doesn't matter. It's just fluff on the ocean. What matters is your frequency, the state of your heart in terms of coherence, your integrity, your humility, your compassion, your gratitude for blue sky, clean water. These are the things, these are the values that are these are the keys to the kingdom. Those are the entry cards to enable us to move into higher dimensions. If you're wobbly on integrity, if you're wobbly on honesty, it's not going to happen. If your focus is scattered all over the place, it's going to be much more difficult. Only you determine that. So practice that, practice focus. I haven't had a television for 5.5 years. I got rid of it when all those happy hours were starting up. We should all be jolly happy about what was going on. And I've got a houseplant which is thriving now, which is much healthier. I refuse to have my frequency dominated by an external agency. I just refuse. I barely switch my mobile phone on, maybe once a month. I absolutely refuse to have the externals define my state of being. I will define my state of being and beam it out to the world and broadcast it. Sovereignty, your inner authority. These are the times we're in because we've been so encouraged to behave obediently, to be a people pleaser, to not rock the boat. And it's a different paradigm now. We're moving into paradigm shattering times. We truly are. And I'd just like to kind of touch on the seed points of some of these outer planets that are so important right now in this very harmonious configuration. I have to go back to 577 BC to find a conjunction between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Those three planets coming together, which are now in very positive geometry. That's the seed point. It's like a new moon when planets come together. So 577 BC. That was the time of Pythagoras and Buddha. And these were the great, great thinkers who we still quote now, who started to develop concepts of consciousness and divinity. Incredible. I still refer to Pythagoras frequently for my astrology. He was a genius. They were developing concepts of consciousness and divinity, which were, scarcely known, certainly not in our recorded history. The seed point of Saturn and Neptune, and they come together in conjunction every 36 years, so it's fairly predictable. They are always about the dissolution of the old order, very connected to Russian history, actually. So, for instance, the last time they were in conjunction was in end of 1989, and it was very literal because that was the collapse of the Berlin Wall. It was a literal breaking down. I was actually in Berlin at the time, watching these young people scramble all over the world, all over the wall with hammers and axes, literally breaking down the old order. And I bought a piece of Berlin Wall, which I've still got in the house somewhere. So the breaking down of the old order. So again, we have this emphasis on collapse of the old. The conjunction between Neptune and Pluto last happened in 1891 to 1893. That was the birth of quantum physics. Max Planck discovering quanta, packets of energy, and throwing out the previous physics that kind of polystyrene balls that were atoms, stuck onto a large molecule. I mean, it's all of that. So he said that matter is derived from consciousness. He was the very first person in our recorded history to say that. Matter is derived from consciousness. So he knew that everything begins from energy and collapses down into density. And so every time, if I go back in history, we've had a Neptune-Pluto conjunction, there's been a shift from the tangible to the less visible. The tangible to the less visible. And that's what's happening now. There's a shift to the ethereal, and particularly because Pluto and Uranus are both in air signs, we're going to get an awful lot of the out there, which was starting already, a discovery, a lot more about our galactic family, discoveries of far distant planets. I mean, a planet was discovered the other day that doesn't even have a name. It's just got a number. It's got an orbit of 25,000 years. And it was only discovered through this dark, I think it's called dark energy camera that can go a long way up there. Equally, we have technology that's now starting to go deep into the earth. Look at the discoveries under the pyramids. That's just the beginning of discovering what's happening in our inner earth with advanced beings that live in inner earth, etc. These are all much more advanced intelligences than we are. The last time we had a conjunction between Uranus and Pluto was in 1965, 1966. Now, Kyle is far too young to have lived through that. That was an incredible time, if any of you lived through that. This was the age of the hippies. It was about love and peace, and there were lots of anti-war demonstrations, anti-Vietnam War, there were protests about wanting greater equality in the world, whether it was women's lib, the Black Power movement, gay lib, lots of protests and demonstrations around we want everybody to have an equal voice in society. And so that was the seed point. The music was phenomenal. You know, remember the Beatles and the Stones, and, you know, it was incredibly rich culturally. That is now coming to blossom. That was the, you know, seed point was 65, 66. That is now coming to blossom with this very positive geometry. So all of these seed points I'm mentioning are now coming to blossom in a bigger way. So I think we are going to have incredible solutions. I was just reading before I came on about this. I think I've mentioned it before, but the post came up again about they've discovered this fungus which thrives on plastics, microplastics, like a gourmet meal. And it can just devour microplastics in the sea, but also in things like rubbish dumps as well. So we're not going to have to wait years and years and years to clean up a lot of the pollution that we have created as humanity. It's going to happen quite quickly. They're going to be incredible jumps in our understanding of reality, plasma physics, aviation, medical and healing technologies. Again, just before I came on, I discovered that stunningly, UK doctors, I can't imagine this is happening in our normal hospitals, but they are now starting to use sound therapy to repair brain trauma from people who've either been in car accidents or have had strokes, who've been brain damaged. And the sound waves are stimulating stem cell production in the brain to regenerate the brain. Now, if you know anything I've been talking about with Homer, the dwarf planet, all about regeneration, she can birth babies all over her body, you know, regenerate her age. And she's very linked, I believe, to stem cell medicine. I've been talking about this in videos. And she's in aspect to Pluto, which is transformation. You know, this is exactly the mythology, the symbolism of Pluto and Homer starting to happen. Pluto's in Aquarius. It's to do with frequency and energy, sound waves. You know, we are going to learn to become masters of the invisible. This is where we're going, masters of our thinking, masters of our energy, masters of our emotion. And we are going to move into such a different world. But we must consciously co-create by becoming masters of our own internal landscape, our own internal state of being. And then we are in a very powerful position to help just beam that out to the world. You know, and we literally do infect people in our circle, and we can even do it over Zoom, frankly, and, you know, do it globally, because we are truly birthing a new biology. And I believe that in my bones. And so many people are talking about this. I've had conversations with Richard Rudd, who in his 3 days of transcendence many years ago, and he was in this state of complete transcendence and downloaded a lot of the Gene Keys material, which is like a modern day mystery school. He had this vision. The core gene key in his whole massive tome is Gene Key 55, which is the water nymph turning into the dragonfly and going through a complete metamorphosis. And again, I've talked about that a lot. Complete change of state. Lee Harris is talking about this, channeling the Z's. You know him well, Kyle. A change in biology. Kelly Kulodny, beautiful channeling of the angel Raphael. I'm going to be talking to her next week. Is talking again about we are currently in embryo. This year we are in embryo, she is saying, as the new human that's going to be birthed turn of the year. And I'm going to dig more into that when I speak to her next week. You know, Lee Carroll, Cryon, Greg Brain, there's so many people talking about this. And I believe that Dr. Zach Bush is even talking about this, you know, with great authority as a doctor. So every time you get caught up in the external drama, the zigzags, know that you are just leaking power. You're giving it away. You're scattering it. And we've done that actually all our lives, me included, because we didn't know any better. But now we do know better. And we have to learn a different way of being, literally moment to moment, because every moment from now on, you are putting layers of paint on what is currently pretty much still a blank canvas in a bigger way than ever before, because our future is so open. We have infinite possibilities in a way that we have never known it before in many, many lifetimes. So let's not make a pig's ear of the biggest jump of evolution for humanity, let us become consciously co-creating in every moment. And stick post-it. I've often said stick post-it notes all over your kitchen cupboards, your bathroom mirror, the fridge. What are you thinking? What's your state of being right now? That's so important. And I've been thinking about this because I filmed my update for the full moon in Aquarius yesterday, and I was thinking, during the lockdowns, during the pandemic and the lockdowns, what did that make us crave? It made us crave human connection, hugging, laughing. Especially if you live on your own, you've been very isolated, likely. And so the lockdowns boomeranged to make us really want human connection. The current zigzags of polarization, and it's probably most extreme in America. I mean, it's right across the world because it's encouraged to have left and right and Democrat and Republican, and I'm right and you're wrong. Even in sports, it's been competition. Our whole paradigm has been competition. And so that degree of polarization is emerging very, very clearly in America. And, I don't need to get to the politics, it's obvious. But now, because the energy is shifting so much and will not tolerate deception and lies, people are starting to say, do you know, whatever side of the political spectrum I'm on, I want truth. I want truth from my leaders because they are our paid servants. I want truth. And that's right across the globe, by the way. It's not just in America. So it is unifying humanity where we have previously had extreme polarity. There's a boomerang. So although competition, I'm right, you're wrong, judgment, polarity has been encouraged, that's collapsing. That's boomeranging. So really, really remember that we are going through this thrilling, and we, you may not be able to see it yet. You've got to come together with like-minded people like Kyle and Leah, who are doing incredible work around heart coherence. Come together in groups, in person, online, and just know that from the high frequency energy coming in, we are creating an extraordinarily beautiful world. We are remembering ancient wisdom. We're remembering shamanic wisdom. Probably the best template we have is ancient Lemuria, the most perfect civilization, where they were completely in a state of oneness. They would never harm or hurt another living being. They were just in harmony with every sentient living being. That's a damn good template, damn good model for what we're moving into. Know that our consciousness is expanding. Know that we are bringing in this sense of multidimensionality and great remembrance. There's an evolution, but also an involution, a remembering of all of our ancient wisdom. So the entry keys to these higher dimensions, to New Earth, are honesty, integrity, humility, focus, heart coherence, gratitude, and compassion. That's what's going to get us to a very different place. And we, to all accounts, people who are much more gifted than me, all of them, including Dr. David Clements with his wonderful work, says that we are rocking it. The potential for humanity is to skyrocket now. And we are in the chrysalis now to prepare for that bigger launch in 2026, which will then go on for many years. But this is it. We're in it.
Whoa.
Okay, I'm right on time there,
Oh
Kyle.
my, Pam, I have never in a half hour period had so much goosebumps arise and just stay throughout my body. I'm curious, is anyone else experiencing goosebumps throughout that whole message? Because that was just absolutely mind blowing. And you are amazing. You are truly just the best. So thank you. We have a few questions from our audience that I'm going to ask. You really covered so much, so I'm only going to ask a few, and that was truly mind blowing. But one that came up was, many people feel timelines are splitting. Are the planets showing us a reality where we could see two very different paths for humanity's energy? And this question's more about like the two Earths. Everyone's really so fascinated about how we're splitting. Could you explain that at all?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Great question. And yes, there is a bifurcation, I believe. I do not believe that we on a spiritual path are leaving this earth. I don't believe that. I believe that we are staying on this earth. And there is a dimensional split because if you're following the narrative, that leads to a particular synthetic and technological reality that's not my timeline.
No.
I'm absolutely not going there. But for people who are caught up in the fear, it has that potential because the other expression of Pluto in Aquarius is controlled by technology and invisible government.
Mm.
So that's really, really clear to see. But the way you choose your timeline is via your frequency. So if you're giving that your attention, you and only you are choosing your frequency. Nobody makes you choose a particular frequency. It's your choice. And that's why your focus is so incredibly important at this time, because if you're caught up in fear, you'll likely be caught up in that timeline. That's not my timeline.
No.
I don't even turn on the mobile phone because I thought it was, I live in the 1880s here. But so just think simplicity, think love, think breath work, think heart coherence, and then you will be on a very different, much more natural and organic timeline. So I do think absolutely there's a dimensional split. Yes, 100%. I think there's a frequency split, 100%, but it's only we that choose it. And that's why all I've banged on about in the last half hour is so vital.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Are there any dates coming up that could be considered hot spots for transformation?
Yeah.
All
The
of
whole,
them.
really, yeah. Um, the whole lot, really. I think even this last bit of July is very strong in terms of seismic potential. We're seeing the uptick in seismic activity, and I anticipated that right at the beginning of the year. The Ring of Fire is very active, and as I understand it, the Earth's crust is actually starting to expand a little, which is one of the contributors to this great seismic activity. So, I do think it's new. Earth is going through her rebirth as well, so that's happening. So even these last few days of July, I think are very strong. Um, August, that actually both the lunations in August, both the full moon in Aquarius and then followed by the new moon in Virgo are very strong, particularly around those dates. So 9th, 23rd, few days to either side. Yes, the Earth spin is speeding up a tiny bit, actually, tiny bit, but yes, that's true. The magnetic North Pole is shifting as well. Yes, I mean, they have to keep updating GPS more often, so planes will still land on the runway and won't miss because the North Pole has been migrating so quickly recently. Other dates, the eclipses in September, I think are going to be very significant. There's a total lunar eclipse on the 7th in Pisces, and then there's a solar eclipse on the 23rd at the beginning of Virgo. Both of those are very strong. And then the Capricorn solstice in December, 21st of December, that is going to be another real pivot point in this kind of bigger launch of the new human, the new biology. So it's the lunations in August, September, and then the Capricorn solstice that I think are going to be very powerful. But I mean, this whole year is just, there's not many, there are not many rest days in 20.
You are so brilliant. It's truly an honor and amazing just to observe you in your wisdom and just how you remember all these dates. It's beautiful. Um,
Should have got a job in a casino, actually, Kyle.
yeah, yeah.
Made a fortune.
Right. So many people are feeling anxious and excited about the changes in the world. What do the upcoming transits suggest about the emotional climate for the collective?
Well, again, there's a bifurcation.
Yeah.
I think there is a tremendous turbulence, and actually, even if you're, on the natural, organic, spiritual path, there will still be emotion as some relationships leave your life. I think everybody is going to experience this to some degree for whatever reason, because the universe is trying to get us on. Divine intelligence is trying to get us onto, the right soul tribe going forward. So I think there's bound to be emotion. There's bound to be a feeling of grief, and we have to sit with that and honor it, not just shove it away. We have to honor that and bless all those people for being in our lives. And so emotional now, and being with us for that part of the journey, and giving us all the lessons they've given
Oof.
us, even if they were tough lessons, like
Oof.
really violent marriage, for instance.
Yeah.
Still bless that person for what they taught you
Mm.
and let them go. Then you can release that relationship to just go into the light and then welcome in the new. But try and make new contacts with people on the same page as you, like mind, physically, with your group, Kyle.
Yeah.
That will help enormously to hold hands and step forwards.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things to do, but all of us are going to feel endings. I think it will be almost impossible to go through these next few months and not have some endings in your life.
It's so
I think,
it's oof, yeah, I got goosebumps the whole time. Again, you were speaking and tears because there's so many people in my life that I am observing that are having to let go. One of the biggest things that I'm seeing though is they're caught in this place, some of them, where it's like they're still holding on to what's going away. Do you feel pretty confident that like if something's drifting away right now, it's something that probably should be let go?
I think that's what divine intelligence is teaching us. And I'm in this as well at the moment.
Yeah,
Some relationships stepping out of my life, and I think, oh no. But
yeah,
I have to walk my talk.
yeah.
I have to trust the process because I do trust in divine intelligence. And there is a whole shake up in the people we're interacting with. So just know that you're going to a vacuum.
Yeah.
Know that you're going to avoid, but just magnetize new people who are going to be
Oof.
with you for that next step of the journey. They're going to hold your hands, they're going to love you more, they're going to hug you more, you're going to laugh with them more. They are the people for your next episode in this incredible metamorphosis for humanity that are going to support you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like we need a whole tribe just to help people let go of everything right now, you know? So if anyone out here or listening is struggling and you need help letting go, reach out. I'm happy to just listen to you because there are so many people going through it and you don't have to go through it alone. We want to be here for you as this is going on.
And
Um,
Kyle, I just want to say it's really important if you are stuck to your old story. People are very defined by their stories. I had this terrible childhood or, whatever. Don't try and drag that massive ball and chain of the old you and the old story into your future
yeah,
because
yeah.
you'll taint the future. Try and move forwards, having blessed everything you've had in as experience in the past. And my life has had some very tough stuff in it,
Mm,
but bless it and let it go in order with joy and love, holding hands with people of like mind to move forward to the future and trust that because you won't have as clean an experience if you're dragging the ball and chain with you.
mm. Yeah.
Don't drag your past into your future.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's people struggling right now that are listening and they haven't figured out what to let go of, what should they do? Should they just kind of just ground in and just ask for divine guidance? I think probably makes sense.
Yes, constantly ask your higher self, ask your angels, ask your guides. I do this all the time. And if I'm not hearing them, I shout at them. I say, make it louder.
Yeah.
Make it louder. I'm not hearing you. And I will very often, most nights actually, as I'm falling asleep, say, please show me, help me with this next step to do with this particular situation. And so often it will come as a very surprising answer, if that not that night, the next 2 or 3 nights. Do that. And I've mentioned several times recently because Uranus is in Gemini. Gemini is particularly to do with writing. Uranus is the downloads. Try automatic writing at the same time every day. So the universe knows you're tuning in then. And even if it's gibberish for the first couple of weeks, that is another very good way to get guidance. But trust your inner guidance. I mean, don't listen to me. Don't listen to, you know, any person you think is some kind of, listen to you. Listen to you because you are your best authority and you can trust that.
If anyone listening wanted to start trying to learn how to turn into astrological signs or entities or objects? Where would you recommend they begin?
Okay, well, I've got some um, really pretty inexpensive teaching videos on my website, going from absolute zero beginners to some more advanced material. But the second thing I'd suggest is go. I'd watch astrologers on YouTube and see who grabs you. I mean, I put out all my stuff on YouTube for free, and there's 10 tons of it. I think there are 500 videos out there. So, follow people on YouTube that you think, yeah, I really like the way they're presenting that, because that's usually for free. And if you really want to take it further, there's some very good online astrological teaching bodies. I mean, Frank Clifford, who is a brilliant astrologer, runs the London School of Astrology. I believe that's now, the curriculum is fully online. And Tony Howard, another wonderful astrologer, runs the Astrology University. He has a full curriculum. So I believe that both of those are kind of, you get certification, and you can either just, as I understand both of their sets of courses, you can either just dip in and do one-off webinars, or you can enroll for the whole year and do the whole caboodle. That's my understanding. So you can do that anywhere in the world, because it's online.
Awesome. How can our followers support you?
Just really, I've kind of, for now, I've abandoned all writing, because I used to do a load of writing. I just don't have the time. So because things are moving so fast and I want to be of most use to people, I'm focusing all of my energy and attention on my YouTube channel. So it's Pam Gregory Official. It's just tipped over today 400,000 subscribers. That's how you tell the difference between me and the scammers. The scammers have got tiny subscriber bases, but there are loads of scammers out there calling themselves Pam Gregory. So that's my one and only Pam Gregory Official. And I'm putting all of my energy and effort into producing videos for free for everybody, so I can be of the greatest use and help to people quickly and on a very wide scale.
Is there any final message you have for everybody listening? Just to anchor in the energies in these upcoming times.
Yeah, it's something I use in my daily evening meditations all the time to encourage people to use this mantra, which is, we're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love. We're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love. And if you can't think of anything better, use that as a rolling mantra. And join the 15-minute free meditations. It's 7 p.m. every night. No tech, no Zoom, no recordings. I've got a video on my YouTube channel. I think it's called Sunday Meditation, because that's how it started, just on a Sunday, but it's now every night at 7 p.m. UK time, because that links in well with American time and European time. Free 15 minutes, explain what the whole thing's about, and people are just having the most incredible experiences with that meditation. Thousands of people, thousands of us all over, you're doing these mass meditations, Carl, people all over the world are doing these, and it's creating a tsunami of love. And the mantra was, we're welcoming in an expanded consciousness of love.
All right, so I'm going to allow everyone to unmute, and I want you guys to say that mantra as we say goodbye to Pam and thank her for all her amazing energy. So, everybody, if you could join me in the mantra. We're welcoming in the expanded consciousness of love. We're welcoming in the expanded consciousness of love. We're welcoming in the expanded consciousness of love.
Welcoming in the expanded
Welcoming in the expanded
consciousness
consciousness of love.
the expanded consciousness of love.
All right, everybody. Now I want you to say goodbye to Pam and thank her.
Goodbye. Bye,
Thank you.
Pam.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Pam.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
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 Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Lots of love. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Pam.
Yeah. Lots of love. Bye.